Hello everyone and welcome to the first CoverageBook webinar of 2026. I am amazed by the turnout we've had. We put this together as a bit of an impromptu session because we were talking amongst ourselves about sort of the annual reviews we've been helping everyone with, and how it's so much easier if you have your account set up from the very beginning. Combined with that feeling that I just want to clean everything and start everything fresh and brand new. So we thought it might be last minute for some people, but let's see if anybody wants to come and chat about clearing through their CoverageBook account, getting everything set up and clean and in a nice manner for the new year. So it was wonderful to see so many of you say yes to the invite. Feel free to say hi in the chat. A little housekeeping from me. Really sorry if you've heard this a million times before, but I'm Laura. I head up customer services here. I'm joined by David, who heads up customer success. Other way around is our job titles, but that doesn't matter. And we have Will on support. So Will is here to answer any questions that you have. Hi, Abby. Hi, Anna. So feel free to ask him questions in the chat as you go along. He'll answer anything he can, and we'll come back to anything that needs more explanation at the end. And we'll also send you a recording of this afterwards. So don't worry about jotting everything down really fast. I think that's it for me for the moment. I'm going to hand the reins over to David for the moment.
Oh, thanks, Laura, and thanks everyone for joining us today. We were just chatting the other day and said, let's just do this. It'll be great. So hopefully you'll find this helpful. I'm going to just start off with a little bit of mini housekeeping with your CoverageBook account before we get into kind of the main bulk of some of the organizational things that you can do. And it's might be time for you to think about reviewing and organizing your team. So with your CoverageBook plan, we build in a number of team user logins that you can use. Let me just share my screen actually so you can see my CoverageBook account. That might be a good idea.
And the seats on all the packages are very generous. So usually you've got enough of seats here to invite as many people as you want and not limit them.
Yes. Can I just check that everyone's seeing my screen correctly? Because I know I had some problems with screen share after a recent browser update. So I just want to check.
I can see it fine.
Yeah. Good. Thank you very much, guys. Okay. So what I would recommend is the first thing that you can do is if you head to the account menu in the top right, hit the My Team tab, and just have a look through to see whether you've got any old team members that you can remove or don't need logins or access. And then also consider just inviting other teammates in as well. So pretty much anybody that you want to be able to create, edit and share reports, send them an invite. They can set up their own login, and then it just keeps everything secure. We can better support you if you have any problems or questions on support. And it also has a couple of other really good benefits as well, like you can actually pin your favorite client or report folders to your own sort of individual dashboard. This is a really good idea because it means that you can just quickly access the folders that you're working on currently, and that also links to the next part that I'm going to talk about in a moment. But probably the main benefit that it has is that we don't actually allow shared logins. So if you've ever logged in and had a teammate get booted out because you're sharing the same login, just invite them separately and it'll fix that problem and you can all work together at the same time. But yes, and that leads nicely onto folders. Now, we often see that some customers don't use folders and they tend to just create reports inside their account, and they'll have like all of their most recently created or updated reports in this reports page. If you don't have kind of like a really good folder structure that you use, I would recommend thinking about setting one up, because it really does help you to organize your reports so that you can find them later on. And you can also do things like share just one link of reports with your clients, which is a super nice way of basically giving them all of their reports through the year. It's really, really easy to create a folder. All you need to do is just click on the new folder link and give it a name. Now, I would recommend potentially thinking about having yearly folders as well. You can create unlimited numbers of folders in your account. You can have a huge long list of folders. That's no problem at all. And if you do it this way, so if you're consistent with the naming, so I'm going to call this one Client A 2026 Reports. I can then create that folder, and I know that all of the reports I create this year are going to be January through to December for 2026. This will definitely make things like creating annual summaries like possible in just 2 clicks. It's really, really quick and easy to do. What you can also do is that you can, as I mentioned before, you can pin those folders to your favorites at the top. And to do that, just hover over the pin icon and you can get it in there. And actually, you can remove the last year's folder if you're no longer working on those, so you can customize those. You can also access your folders list here as well. So if you have like lots and lots of folders, we have like an A to Z index that you can use as well. So do feel free to create as many folders as you like. As I mentioned, one of the things we get asked on support is, in fact, exactly what Mita has asked, can you create subfolders? We keep it really, really simple and tend to just have one main folder list. But we're hoping that if you can pin your folders to those favorites area, it will just mean you can kind of track them and keep them organized a little bit better. So that's a really good thing to do as well. The other thing that you can do is, as I mentioned, you can actually share an entire link to a folder of reports. So for example, here I've created just some dummy reports for a fictional client. You can do this by client. You can also do it if you're an in-house brand or some other kind of company. You can do it by region, by campaign, by event, by brand, by whatever you want. It doesn't matter, however you want to organize your folders. But once you have that folder of reports, if you hit the share button and hit create public share link, you can generate a custom share link just to this folder. And you can also brand your share link to your agency or organization name as well. It works in the same way as a report share link. So for example, mine is training.coveragebook.com, and this will link directly to that folder of reports. The really good thing about this is that when you share the reports with your clients or stakeholders, they just get a read-only view, so they can't change or edit or mess around with the reports in any way. But it also has the added benefit as well that your clients can compare the reports month on month, so they can kind of see how the coverage changes, how the metrics change, etc. One of the other questions we get asked is, can we have like metrics per report breakdown in a larger report? And although we don't do that right now, this is one way that you can achieve that by sharing a link with individual monthly reports. And then, as you can see at the end, I've also built an annual summary report and also a numbers update summary as well, which are all included within that folder. So you can certainly include like a main overview and then have those individual reports as well. You can also stop sharing the folder anytime. Just hit that stop sharing button and we will rescind access to that folder. Now, if you haven't set up your folders yet, just to mention that when you do create those, if you click on the 3 dots below and to the right of any report in your account, you will have options to move your folders to different folders. Excuse me, you can remove them from the folder they're in, and then you can add them to others as well. So you can sort of switch up how you're doing it and change things around to suit. Now, before we look at making things like summaries, there is an extra level of organization that you can do, and it's by using sections. So I'm going to go into one of our sort of regular featuring reports on these webinars. And this is where we've created a CoverageBook report that has sections broken down by campaign. So what you could consider doing is creating regular monthly reports, but then actually separating out your coverage by a campaign or event, or potentially by region as well. This also gives you an extra level of organization, which makes kind of like finding all of your campaign coverage through the year much faster to do when you want to do things like smash them all together to create a summary report. And I'll touch on that in a moment. It's really easy to create sections if you're not already using them. As you add coverage to your account, let me just see if I can type our website in. I got it right. Great. Hit next. And then from here, you can either choose a section of coverage that's already pre-populated in your account, or you can click on that add new section and just create the section as you're making your report. The other thing that you can do as well is if you're in the sections tab of any blank report, you can just add sections for your teams to add coverage to. So feel free to compile your own versions of reports that you can use too. Now, when you have that report created and you're happy with kind of the folder structure and perhaps the sections and how they're organized, you can then just rinse and repeat that report to use through the year. If you click on the 3 dots below and to the right of that report, you'll have the option to copy. You can either make an exact copy or you can copy the styles and settings. And this is kind of like a precursor to an official template. So what it will do is it will copy across all of your formatting, the colors, the logos, any kind of metrics preferences and sections as well. So you can just quickly recreate a blank version of your February, March, April reports, just change the name and then you can add coverage to it and it should save you a bunch of time. Now, speaking of doing things like making summaries, let's have a look at how you can do that really quickly. I won't go into too much detail because we did a bunch of webinars and FAQs and videos on this recently. So Will, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a link to the annual summary FAQ or perhaps our last webinar, that would be great. But essentially all you need to do is just click on the coverage tab in the top left. It might take a while to open. There we go. The filters down on the left-hand side are really useful here. So what you can do is essentially go straight to your folder, find those 2025 reports, and then you can search for each report in turn. So you can find your January report, grab the coverage and click on Create New Report. And you'll see that we've added some pre-formatted templates that you can use. The annual report one is a really good one for this. If you click into that, we have pre-formatted a report that has 12 different sections from January to December. So you can essentially just add each of your monthly reports directly to one of those sections and it will build that month-on-month report for you. Just give this a quick name. 2025. It's already got the January section in there and I'm just going to add it to that folder that I've already got running for this client and then just hit Create Report. And then all we need to do is just repeat the process, but this time we're going to add clips to that existing report. So we just go down to the February report, we select the coverage from that and then just click on Add to Report, find that annual summary, put it into the February section and add the coverage and just keep going until you've got that report made. You can also do this through the year. If you're already finalizing your reports, you can just create that, that summary straight away as you go. So, you know, you can almost have like a quarterly and 6 monthly running summary for your clients as well, which is quite nice. If you ever did want to do something like just make a super quick summary in a couple of clicks, I mentioned that having all of your reports in a yearly folder helps for this. So what you can do is just go and find those 2025 reports folder, grab all of the coverage from January to December, and then just click on Create New Report. And then you can do something like use our numbers update report. So this is a much more condensed version. It focuses heavily on kind of the metric summary, and then we'll show all of that coverage as a list view. So you could potentially add this to your shared folder as you've already shared the full clip previews and all of the monthly reports with your clients anyway. So if you need to make a summary in a rush, that will do it in about 20 seconds. Now, as Laura mentioned, actually, like one of the great things that you can do around kind of section naming, if you're going to use it for things like picking out campaigns month on month, is that it's really easy to find those pieces of coverage later so that you can add those to different reports. And to do that, let me just clear these filters. So for example, we'll just go into a different report here for this PR resolution report that I created. We'll find the report, and then you'll see that an additional third section drop down appears. And this is where you can basically find all of those sections of coverage. And then all you need to do is just find the section of coverage you're looking for, select the clips, and then you can add those to a report. And then you could potentially do that for other reports from that client to bring all of that particular campaign coverage together into one report. The beauty of this is that you can reuse the coverage as many times as you like. Once you've added it, it's yours to use in lots of different flavors of reports. So do have a play around and see what might work well for you. I think that's everything I had for the moment on that, Laura.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Like, it's just a few things in like setting up your account from the very beginning will make it at the very end so much easier to search. And sometimes you need to know what's possible to know it. I was just going to quickly talk about sort of metrics for 2026. If you could quickly bring up the report with some standard metrics for me, is that okay, David? The ones that you'll see, just so I can talk through them. So I know most people that are coming over to CoverageBook tend to have used metrics before in the past. And the numbers you generally have are in this sort of audience figure. So this is how many people visit the websites that you've got places on. And I know, and I can see why lots of people will be continuing to use this, because you can see in comparison to the last year and the year before. But I do think the start of the year is a really good time to sort of shake up the metrics that you use. And I'm just going to talk through a few that I think that would be good to use for this year. So firstly, moving away from this audience figure, I think we all know that everybody who, if you got a piece on The Guardian, not everybody who visits The Guardian is going to read your piece. So while it's good in sort of understanding the size of the placements you've got, and it's good because you're looking in the past into, you know, what was the potential audience before. Now's a really good time to start having those conversations and move to things like estimated views. You need to be a bit more confident in having smaller numbers, but the smaller numbers are far more credible. So you'll be a lot more trusted. So the audience number is often in the million and the billions. We've seen more than the people on the planet. Whereas if you come down to like, this is how many people we think have seen this piece of coverage. Don't forget, if it's something like YouTube, we pull exact numbers. We have different formulas on whether it's from a social piece of coverage or an online, which I won't go into now, but Will, if you could put in the FAQ of how we derive at this figure. We're always happy to talk to people about it. But it's a really good time to start talking to your clients or your bosses about why you might be moving to estimated views, a far more credible figure, and a figure that can be used to measure activity of PR against other things like impressions. But while we're looking at smaller figures, I think it's also another good one to highlight a bit more and to move to. One other thing on that is you can actually still look at year-on-year figures as well, because even though you might not have highlighted estimated views in 2025, all your reports will still have them. So you can still be looking at year-on-year, even if you're moving over to new figures within CoverageBook. Same for engagements. So again, it's all very well that you've put stuff out there, but it's good to know a bit more, but then what do people do? So one thing to look at is engagements. And again, it's a smaller figure, but you're showing that like this coverage moved people to actually do something. So, to like or comment or share. So it's a good metric to use to say that this coverage was probably quite relevant. The last metric, we're going to talk through a few metrics, but then the next metric that I want to highlight is one that you need to add yourself. We have to provide it for you, but you can easily get from CoverageBook. So you can add custom cards, just as David's showing here. And I think the latest stat, it depends which stat you read, but somewhere between 60 to 80% of people on the internet aren't looking past the headline. So one stat that you might want to put in is how many times your brand was mentioned in the headline. And you can easily get that to, you can easily add that in by getting the CSV, having a look at the headline column and using the formula to find and use your brand name. And then you can say your brand name was used in the headline this many times. And obviously, if it's been shared on social, it's often only the title that's used. So this is, again, a really good one to see how many people might have seen your brand. Yeah, David, just showing you how to add metrics there, a metric card there. So I think that was what I was going to talk about for metrics to use from us. But I think next it moves us quite nicely onto the last thing that we were going to talk about, and that's sort of like the best books that we see. And I would say the best books that I see are often ones that tell a story. So you can tell a story in a few ways. One, you can add metric cards. And before I go down that route, actually, the reason why I think it's so important to tell a story is because you know what's happening, like off the back of your hand. And most likely the first point of contact who you're sending this report to knows everything off the back of their hand. They know the story, they know the objectives, they know any issues that came along the way. But imagine they're sharing this link with somebody else who doesn't know anything, and they pick it up and they're like, so what? 600 pieces of coverage. Is that good? I don't know. So what? 600, 500, 4. Everybody's slightly different. What were you aiming for? And you have a look at the detail of the coverage, and you can see like themes we're going through. Is that what you were trying to do? So it's really good just to tell the story so that anybody who picks up this report can say, oh, that was a good job, and put these numbers in some sort of context. So yeah, there's two ways that I see people do this really well, and that's the metrics cards that I was talking about a second ago. So you can add, I think I've seen some really good ones that say like one event, 200 pieces of coverage, 440 website signups or brochure downloads or something like that. So you can see the journey of like having your coverage and then the impact that made. It's also a really good way of reason to start talking to your clients or your stakeholders about, okay, what impact metrics should we be measuring? You know, is it website visits? Is it downloads? And can we have that data because we're interested in it, because we want to see if our PR is making an impact, and they'll be interested to help you do it. And then you can weave it in about this is what we did, but what was the impact that this campaign had. So yeah, you can do that with metric cards. You can tell the story because you can pull and drag these metric cards around as much as you like. You can also, you can show us quickly, David.
So yeah, just reorganize them, drag and drop. Yeah, go for it.
It's so easy. So you can move them around, add your own metrics, and tell a story in the numbers if you want. The other way to tell a story is through the coverage slides. So you can add as many slides as you want at the beginning of your report, and also to the sections. So one of the slides David's got here, it's worth having a look at coverage impact. It's a whole new webinar on coverage impact, but again, you can throw your CSV into coverage impact. It's a free tool that we've made. Anyone can use it. And we'll create a graph of your coverage over time. And if you've had these conversations with the stakeholders about what should we use as an impact correlation, you can throw that into, and you can make a graph over the impact over time. So you can add that, you can take that and add that as a slide into CoverageBook. Do you want to quickly show slides, David?
Yeah,
sure. You're exporting this one, perfect.
Yeah, so what you can do
add, you can add images straight in as you want. So it could be a graph like this. It could be a graph from your social monitoring tool that you wanted to show something else, pull things together. It might be that you add a slide as like an image of some of the events that you've done, or it could be a written slide. So David's showing you some different layouts that you can have here. You can have just images, you can have like images and some writing. This is where you could be putting your objectives or your targets, just again, so anybody that picks up the report can read it and say, yes, that was a brilliant job. So I would say for me, they are the two ways that the best reports I see. Mainly just tell the story, make sure that people can see what you were doing and whether that's a good job, and using slides and clever use of metrics cards are the ways I see that. How about you, David? Do you have any other things that you think make a good report?
I mean, I think they would be definitely my top recommendations as well, Laura.
I stole them from you.
You did, but I probably have one that's like a little bit simpler actually, and like we get to look at a lot of customers' reports when they come through on support. Perhaps they want us to check on something or whatever, and some of the best ones that we see are really visually impactful. We get lots of nice feedback from customers as well to say just how nicely designed CoverageBook is, how good the reports look when they share them, and we get really positive feedback from end readers and clients as well. And some of the best reports that I've seen have really nice looking front covers. So we, out of the box, they look really good, but there are lots of things that you can do to customize it and really tailor it to kind of add some, some more pop to it. So do check out things like our layout options on the top left. You can obviously add in your logo, add some text and supporting text, and then do have a play around with this area as well. So you can choose to upload your own custom cover image if you prefer. So if you do potentially have any aspect of a campaign that has, a really nice hero image, do think about uploading that to your front cover. It will look really good when you share it. But you can also customize the montage as well. So by default, we'll kind of grab like a random selection of images from the report, but you can customize that a little bit further by picking out images just from your highlights, or potentially you can even pick out items in a section of coverage as well. So when we were talking earlier about potentially showcasing coverage by organizing them into sections, you could actually just show coverage from one particular campaign section in a report to really focus and hone in on that. So yeah, do have a play around with that. Some of the front covers we see look really good, like punchy colors, nice images, and they really do stand out when you share them. Sort of touching on that a little bit actually is I also see some reports that look really good because they're really condensed and kind of concise and easy to digest and read. So although you've gone to the trouble of getting all the hard-earned coverage, sometimes sharing a 2 or 3 page report can really help your readers to kind of get engaged with it. I mean, we have heard a few times from customers that they're not sure whether their clients do read all of the coverage reports that they send over. So this could be one option that you could choose. And what you can do is if you first pick out some highlights in your report. So as you're importing your coverage, if you've got some really key or standout pieces from that entire report, just click on the gold star icon in the top right-hand corner of the clip. We will add that as a highlight to the highlights page. Again, like you can drag and drop these around to organize them however you want. And then what you can do is, just go back to the overview tab. You can actually come along and hide all of the sections of coverage. So if you've got a report with lots of sections of with lots of coverage in it, and potentially the coverage is all of a very similar kind of theme, similar imagery, etc., you probably don't need to show that 200 or 300 times. Hide it. We will include those highlights, and you will still have all of those kind of metrics numbers totaled up in the summary page. And it means that you can share a report that just has a nice front cover, the metric summary that you want to present with your clients that are tailored for all of those numbers. And then it will literally just go down. Oh, excuse me, sorry, my internet connection's a bit flaky, it will go down to that highlights page. They can click through and view these clips in full as well. And then any custom pages, charts, slides, additional context that you want to add, you can include at the bottom. So again, going back to the theme of potentially considering sharing a live link to all of the client's reports in a single folder, you might actually just want to give them these access to these really kind of punchy overview reports as well, that they can just share in a few pages. Yeah, so that would be probably my recommendation as well. Yeah, that can really help to engage readers.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I know I often talk to people about creating one main report using the copy function that you showed earlier on, but say copy with coverage, and then just quickly going through to the metric summary and switching the metrics for ones that they would care about. So if you want to create a team, one for the social team, you could say copy with coverage, and then actually have more of the, like, we had this many pieces, this many were social, break down the social platforms and make it far more relevant for them. Obviously, people are going to read and digest things that are a bit more relevant to them. So again, you can name it a bit more relevant for them. Again, you can, because what the great thing is, you can make as many reports as you want once you've got the coverage in there. So hopefully we've saved you time in creating the report. You can spend a bit more time just making them more useful for the end reader by adding that context, or making them more specific to what they would be interested in. I think that's all we had to cover. I had a slight eye on the chat, and Will has been super busy. I think this might be one of his busiest. So I think he's answered everything. And some questions coming in now. This is a long one, so give me a second. Work a lot with custom metrics. We have many teams working on several books. Would it be possible to develop pinned metrics up to 3 attached to each login profile? That's a really good shout there. So pinning the metrics that you use most of the ones that you've created. No worries for the lengthy message. So yeah, that's not something we can do right now, but that's a really good shout. So we'll pass that on. Estimated views for print coverage. How do you recommend to narrow down circulation to a value that's more similar to estimated views? That's a really interesting question there, because yeah, so I guess you're saying that you wouldn't use the circulation as the estimated views. So should we have an estimated views for offline coverage as well? Yeah, I get this. Yeah, because you add your own metric for print coverage, you could add an estimated views one. We don't have a formula at the moment for estimated views of print coverage, but it's definitely something we should possibly look into.
Yeah, even if that's just kind of like, you know, sticking with, I think maybe doing something like that, being consistent. So going, actually, if we're going to apply this, we're going to make it 25% of, or 10% of, or just be, and then at least you have a consistent number that you can track against that audience. Yeah, that might be one thing to suggest.
Yeah, you're right. It probably is there's another added there. It probably is a closer figure, but again, you wouldn't assume that everybody who buys every print reads everything. You're right, it probably is closer, and there's probably less nuances in terms of how it's being shared online, so you could do a percentage of figure of it and use that instead.
Yeah, we did make a tiny update to custom metrics recently, actually, from some customer feedback. We now actually order that list in alphabetic order, because that must have been a bit difficult if you've got lots of metrics. And we do also show the most recent metric that you've used first in that list to kind of help out, especially if you're adding the same one to multiple clips. But yeah, I think that suggestion is really good, and we'll definitely pass that to the team. So thank you.
No problem. Yeah, and if anybody has any more feedback or suggestions, we are always happy to listen to it. It's how we improve the tool, so I'm always happy to hear what would be useful for you guys. And I hope you all found that webinar useful. We've gone over by 5 minutes, David. I think that's because you let me talk for a bit more than normal. So sorry we kept you a bit longer than we promised. a recording of this should go out straight away afterwards. And hopefully that's helped you think that, consider how you might set up your reports for this year, hopefully making your December you much happier, especially if you can create those annual reports in those 2 clicks when you've got all your books in one of the folders. So yeah, always here at support@coveragebook.com, support@coveragebook.com if you have any more questions, and we'll hopefully see you on our next webinar. See you later.